fee will be larger than the normal monthly payment. Or send in the mail. Dropbox, send in the mail, pay online.
Good. Moving on. High school off-season. We have multi-sport athletes in the program. That's awesome. Spectacular. Okay? With that comes additional responsibilities as an athlete and as a family. You're going to be running around a little more. Okay? And your job is to communicate with both programs about where you're going to be at all times. Our multi-sport athlete policy is pretty simple. Competition versus practice, you're always at competition no matter where it is. Okay, so if you have a high school basketball game and you have volleyball practice, well, you're at the basketball game. Okay, if you have a volleyball competition and you have basketball practice, you're at volleyball competition. You need to make that clear with your coaches and with that program before you start with that. Okay? Once you realize there's a conflict, communicate with everyone. If it's a head-to-head conflict, like competition against competition, our policy is simple. Let us know where you're going to be. And let us know as soon as you know the conflict so that we can plan accordingly. Okay? Because it's not just about your daughter or her experience. It's about the other 10 athletes that are on the team. And not only that, it's about the teams that we're signed up to play against. Okay, they're expecting a specific level of team to show up at the tournament because we signed up for a specific division. If all of a sudden the team now has 7 players and we can't, we have, well, our centers are there and our liberos are there, and we have 3 hitters, that's not going to be the same team as a full roster. So you have to let us know as soon as you know there's a conflict so we can make sure that we're putting a team out there that we said we were going to put out there. The example last year was that we had a couple setters that one was injured, one had a conflict, but we didn't find out until really late, and a hitter had to set. Had we known sooner, we could have had a setter from another team set for that. So we will work through that. We just have to know as soon as possible. And then once you make that decision, you have to let both programs know. It's only fair. And know that as a multi-sport athlete, that's going to require working with a person in an authority position. And what that's going to do. As parents, we are going to go to bat for you. I have gone to bat against some high school coaches at times who say things like, we have a game tomorrow, you can't do anything the day before. Nope. I will go to bat for your daughter on that one. Okay? I understand. She's going to attend practice. She might not do as much if we're doing a whole bunch of strenuous stuff. I get it. You have a big basketball game tomorrow. But you're going to be here. Your high school coach has no right to tell you that you cannot be here. Okay, so we will go to bat if we need to at times for that. Communicate with us, communicate with us, communicate with us. If by chance you miss, let's say that you're in a basketball competition, okay, and you miss to come to a volleyball competition, let us know that. That matters. It shows that there's give and take on both sides. Okay, and that helps. If you do have to miss, we're like, oh, no big deal. She missed basketball to be here before, so go get her. Tons of fun. That's multi-sport athlete policy. In addition to that, our Kokoro events that are in season do take priority over any off-season high school events. This usually comes into effect toward the end of the year when we're getting ready to go to nationals and we have practice and you have captain's practice at high school. Our actual practice is going to take priority because that's an off-season activity. Okay, we're preparing for nationals, you're preparing for the high school season with your friends, not a coach there, for the following season. Like, nope, we're going to focus on Kokoro right now because we're in season. Oh, we as parents, we have certain views about prom. Other parents have other views about prom. When we were at a tournament last year in Sioux Falls, we had 2 coaches standing right next to each other. We had all of our coaches, we did a regular coaches meeting, and we talked about prom and our policy. And one of the coaches was like, kids don't need to go to prom at all. Like, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money, and only bad things happen at prom. Literally right next to that coach is another coach that said, I think kids should be able to go to prom, it's no big deal, they have lots of fun, it's a team event, it's a big deal, they should go. So we have to be in the middle of that somehow. We are going to ask for their prom schedules as soon as they know them, especially seniors. Because we as club directors, we have other club directors who are our friends. And let's say that prom is in the evening. Well, I can probably make sure that we play in the morning that day. So you can fulfill your commitment to your team at Concordo and then still go to prom and have a great time. Makes sense? So when that stuff comes up, you have to let us know as soon as possible so we can work through any accommodations if we can make them. Let's say that you were normally scheduled for a practice on Saturday, but you have prom on Saturday. Well, we can just switch you to Sunday if we can that week. No big deal. So we need to know if there are conflicts.
I played in prom here, so if I played in prom here, you guys can play in prom here too. All joking aside, like, prom doesn't really matter to us. We fully admit that, like, it's not something that we value. However, we understand that that might not be the norm. So because of that, we have pulled in a circle of people to help us make these policies. So over the summer, we pulled in parents, we pulled in coaches, we pulled in some athletes to help us devise policies that might not make sense to you. You might not necessarily agree with them, but it's a compilation of people that help us. So again, we know that we might not be the norm about prom. So other people are helping us make those policies. Okay? So we're not just consulting each other. We consult a group of people to help us with that.
To be really clear about the actual policy and the way it's written in the handbook, juniors and seniors, you got to let us know so we can do whatever we can to make sure that if you're a freshman or sophomore, you're going to be at competition that day. That's it. Like, juniors and seniors, okay, I get it. We'll help you out, do the best we can. Freshmen and sophomores, you are at competition if we compete that day. And you're there the whole time. Once we're done, go to prom, have a great time. We have had moms do hair, and they took a video, and there was lots of tears. Like, it was actually kind of cool, even though I'm not into prom that much, but it was a really cool experience for them. They went after competition that day. So just know that that's actually in there. Freshmen and sophomores, you're going to be at competition. Juniors, seniors, you got to let us know so we can help out.
One more thing about prom and multi-sport athlete. When we sign up for tournaments, we are putting our reputation as a club on the line. So we're saying we're going to be there. If we were, heaven forbid, having to pull out of an event because we don't have enough athletes to field the team that we said we were going to field, that is our reputation that affects us the next year and the next year. So we take that very seriously, that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. So when we sign up for open division, we will be there and we will field an open division team.
Just quickly about our facility. This is the place that we hang out, parents. I mean, you can be out here in this common area. I am going to send an email reminding all of our coaches to remind all of our athletes to use their inside voices out here. I know that they are getting ready to go into ETS and they're excited, and that's great. But when we're out here, we want this area to be a place where parents can relax, that's quiet, they can do work, they can read a book, and just kind of hang out. Our athletes are also responsible for picking up after themselves, and we will hold them accountable for that. Okay, so out here, they're going to have to pick up. In the gym, they have to pick up. They have to sweep every day in the gym. They have to make sure that everything is put away at the end of the night. You have to make sure that their area, which is upstairs, that area is picked up at all times. Backpacks go on the shelf up there because we do have families that are going to help us with actual cleaning, and we can't clean the floor and vacuum it if there's a whole bunch of stuff on the floor. Where have you heard that before, ladies? Okay, so we're going to make sure that they're held accountable to picking up after themselves. At events too. We will be the club that will leave it better than how we found it. Period. You will see my team walk the entire court from both benches all the way to the spectator areas and pick up. I don't expect them to pick up Band-Aids and gross stuff. Just the water bottle. Hey, pick up the water bottle, throw it out. Pick up that trash, throw it out. And we're going to leave it better than how we found it. You will have, athletes will have 2 up to 3 evaluations per season. What this is, pretty simple. Your daughter will have a meeting with her coaches about what she is working on, what the team is working on, and where she stands in relation to her teammates that play the same position. These are all really valuable things. Okay? Your daughter's going to come into that meeting and present those things to her coaches. If it's not quite accurate, coach is going to help them out. After that meeting is done, your athletes are going to send everyone, you're included, an email with a recap of that entire meeting. So everybody's on the same page.
Not the whole team. So parents, athlete, coaches are getting that for your daughter. Just want to be clear, not the whole team gets that.
Okay.
Yeah.
If in that email something is left out, no big deal. Coach is going to respond and say, hey, can you expand on this? We talked a little bit more about this area. Let's put a little more information in there about that area. So everybody's on the same page about what your daughter is working on, what the team is working on, where she stands in relation to her teammates. That part, that's the hard one. Okay, but it's important. She has to know that. If she wants to reach her goal of being out there in those big matches, she has to know where she stands. Okay, if she wants to get into college, guess what? She has to know where she stands. She has to know what she has to do in relation to her peers to achieve her goal. It will be done in a very humanistic way. We're not going to say, you need to say that you're better than Sally. We don't do that. It's, hey, we have 3 outside hitters. Where do you think you fit? 1 to 3. That's it. Okay, you're number 2. What do you have to do to be number 1? So they're going to get walked through that process, that evaluation process.
95% of the time, I would say, I notice that my athletes focus heavily on anything that they perceived as negative. And the stuff that we talked about that was really positive gets completely forgotten. Which is human nature. Like, we look for the negative. How do I protect myself? I need to know how to protect myself by hearing the negative. That's where our job as coaches is to jump in and say, hey, remember that part where I said you were really awesome and I enjoy having you on the team and I love seeing you walk in the gym smiling every day? Those are the things as a coach we'll pop in and make sure that you're hearing as a parent as well and that the athlete is also hearing again.
Story time. I love stories. So,
It takes up a lot of time. That's fine.
this is a good one because one of our coaches used to play for us, and she was on my team. Great kid. When I was coaching her, I thought she was a great kid. She had some work to do, but she's a great kid. Okay? She comes to me after a competition and she says, Coach, you are always on my about stuff. And I'm like, really? I don't see that. So she expressed herself, said, yep, you're really tough on me. I can't do anything right. I'm always doing anything wrong. And I'm like, hey, if that's the case, I'm genuinely sorry, but let's find out. So I pulled in my assistant coach and said, hey, don't tell me when you're going to do this, but in our next competition, keep track of talent. How many positive things I say to Abby, and how many critical things I say to Abby. So we're going through a match later in the season. He yells from the sideline. He's like, hey, RT, 7-2. Like, what are you talking about? The score is 14-5. He's like, no, 7-2. You've said 7 positive things to Abby and 2 critical things. So my question is, Miss Broughton, why do you only hear the critical things? There's an actual reason, and it's going to make total sense in a second.
Because they think that you're yelling at them because they're doing everything bad.
Could be. Question for you. When you do something wrong, where do you look?
Scoreboard.
Oh, the scoreboard. Okay. At that time, who's probably getting your attention to tell you how to fix it?
Coach.
Your coach. Okay, so something happens that's not ideal. Coach is probably going to give some type of critical critique. Sorry, some type of critique. Yes? And we're going to look at each other, probably get your attention. So who are you looking at after you mess up? Me. Right? You do something great. You look at the scoreboard again, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Then where do you look?
My teammates.
Yep, you guys are cheering just like you should be. Guess who you're not looking at? The other person that's cheering. telling you good job. Me. That makes sense? But this is actually how it works on the court. They mess up, they look at their coach. They do something great, they look at their teammates. So yeah, it seems like every time I talk to you, I'm giving you critical feedback. That's what it seems like. It's just not true. So please, 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 when your kids come home and say something like that, say, hey, it's just not true. I do watch your coach when things are going well, and they're cheering too, and telling you good job, and that they believe in you, and you can do it. So let's dispel that lack of factual information. Good. Thanks.
I've heard it a time or two.
There's lots of stories about Abby. Abby's great. You'll all get to meet her. She's one of our 17s coaches this year. She's a rock star.
And she knows we tell the story.
Oh, yeah.
So this is no dream.
She's a better storyteller than I am. Ask her the story about the chicken.
So you think you're a
Super
good
fun.
storyteller? We tease each other.
Positional
Really
training.
enjoy that.
Positional training. Monday nights, the schedule's up. What we do is we kind of put the teams together so that the level of skill is similar. And we rotate on the ends a little bit so that the younger kids don't always have to do the 4 o'clock session, the 4 and the 5 switch. And then the older athletes, the 7 and the 9 switch. The 8 actually stays the same because of some travel stuff. We have a wonderful family that's driving up from Rochester to play with us, which is awesome. We're super excited to have them. So we're going to keep that one slot the same and then just flip the other 2. So. Missed practices. Let us know. Make sure you're communicating with your coach directly. It is your responsibility as an athlete to tell your coach when you are going to be there and when we're not be there. Okay, that's the athlete's responsibility. We as coaches do not want to get emails from parents saying my daughter's not going to be there. It's your daughter's responsibility to do that. They can pick up the phone really, really fast and actually push the buttons to call someone. That'd be great. We prefer the call over text. Okay, if you happen to get your coach, great. Tell him, hey, I'm not able to come to practice today. I'm sick. Or leave a message. Sometimes coaches pick up, leave a message, and you're good to go. If by chance you do miss practice, you can make it up. Just make sure you communicate with your coach about that and what team you'll go with to make it up. Know that that coach that you're going with has to be asked, because we don't want to have like 15 kids show up all of a sudden. Okay, so make sure you ask that coach, get their permission to come to their practice. They're usually going to say yes, unless, like I said, there's a space issue. Then they'll say no. Okay, and you just ask the next coach if you can go. Okay, so if you want to make it up, make it up.
Uniforms. What to wear practice?
Uniforms. Practice. Your tryout t-shirt, the orange one. That's your practice shirt. You'll get another one. Our apparel vendor, she's coming back into town. She's on vacation. We'll have more t-shirts for everyone, so you will get 2 orange t-shirts for the season. If by chance you need another one, it's $5. Okay, that would be your 3rd or 4th because you lost them, or however that works out. But you are required to wear this wonderful practice shirt right here. Dark colored spandex, please, and hair pulled back. That's stuff you should know, but we have to remind our younger athletes about that. Okay. All of our coaches go through a background screen. Every single coach goes through a background screen, and they also go through abuse prevention training. Okay, it's required by law that everyone who works with athletes on a team, or even if it's a track team and it's individually, they are required to go through a abuse prevention training course. All of our coaches have done it. Okay, all of our coaches have gone through that background. We also monitor our coaches. We take communication very seriously. Okay, if I, as a coach, need to communicate with my athletes, I'm usually going to do it by email. Okay? If by chance I do have to send them a text, it's going to be, get your butts at the court. Or something very practical and logistic like that. The other time I might text an athlete would be to say, great job. That was awesome. You killed it today. That's it. Okay? You as parents have the right to look at all those texts at any time. Our coaches fully know that you will do that. And that's great. Okay? We also will make sure that our coaches, if by chance they are sending a text, it's at an appropriate time. Texts to athletes shouldn't go out after 9 o'clock. Like, kind of common sense. We'll make sure that happens too.
If parents, you want to opt out of having your daughter being texted by a coach, just email us and we will make sure that the coach knows that. If you prefer to be copied on a text to your daughter, we can also add your cell phone number. This was a big discussion in our group conversation of our advisory committee over the summer, because honestly we wanted to not do texting anymore. We didn't want to have our coaches text athletes. It feels like a personal type of communication. And parents in the group said, actually no, I want my coach to be able to text my daughter. Because a lot of times that communication is pumping her up and sending her a nice message about how she did in competition. I don't want her to lose that opportunity of hearing something really positive. So that was something that a lot of the parents indicated to us, but know that you can opt out if that's not something you prefer, or you can be copied on that as well. But you do have to let us know that that would be your desire.
The other thing that those communications do enable is that if an athlete has an issue or concern and they bring it to their coach can help them with it. That was another benefit that the parents saw in it. You know what, things are really rough at school right now. I'm having difficulty with this person right now. Whatever it is, we can help them process that a little bit, but also know that because of the courses that we take, we're also now mandatory reporters. So if something comes up that's a potential sign of abuse, of anything like that, we are required to report it. Okay, so know that, yep, we're going to be a bit of a resource for them and help them navigate things if we need to, but if something concerning comes up, we have to report it on. We as club directors will find out immediately, and we will take appropriate steps from there. That is now the law. We take that stuff seriously, and that's also why we wanted to not text. Like, it'd be way easier. Way easier. We just don't do that. We don't communicate like that. But again, in the advisory committee, they were like, no, that really takes away that our daughter communicates right now. That's how she does it. And if you take that away from her, who's she going to talk to then? If it's something concerning. She doesn't talk to me as a parent. My daughter doesn't talk to me about stuff like that. So know that if something concerning comes up, we're going to take it seriously and handle it appropriately.
There might be times in practice, if you are on the track, you might notice a coach has their cell phone out. I love this as a tool to be able to record an athlete, to pull them to the side and say, hey, this is what you're doing when you're attacking, this is your footwork, what do you notice? Athletes love watching themselves. Really, just because it is such a huge tool, they're like, I had no idea I was doing that. So you might notice that's happening. Coaches are required to delete that footage off of their phone right away. Again, if you want to opt out on having your athlete recorded at any time, you have to let us know that. Okay, but coaches will use that tool so that they can help an athlete see themselves perform a skill.
Moving on. Here at the facility, we'll make sure nobody's left behind, even at competitions too. If an athlete is, let's say mom and dad are just a little bit late, we're going to make sure a coach stays here to make sure that they get picked up and are going home. That'll usually involve some phone calls, hey, we're on our way, or however that works out. We'll stay here until they're picked up. Competition 2, we're not going to leave somebody in Milwaukee. We're going to make sure that they get picked up. Know that we do have cameras in the facility all over the place. One right there, one in the corner, a couple as you come in, a couple in the parking lot. So know that everything's always recorded here too. We talked about travel. About nationals. A little bit more about nationals. When we do travel down to Orlando, and we go to Louisville, the chaperone will be in charge of the athletes' food money. Okay, so when we go to Orlando, the chaperone will go grocery shopping, and they'll take an even amount out of everybody's envelope to pay for the groceries that they'll use for that trip. Then, when the athletes go out to eat, they're given their envelope. They pay for their food, they give their envelope back. And when they return to Minneapolis, then they get their money back. Not before. The reason for that was the layover in Kansas City, where the kids wanted to go to the zoo. No, they can't go to the zoo. But they need to have money just in case something weird came up. And, I mean, what are you going to do with a whole bunch of extra money at Nationals when you are done with the tournament? Where are you probably going to go right away?
The outlet mall.
Well, the outlet mall or the gift shop to get some t-shirts or something like that. So we're going to make sure that that money is taken care of until they get back. Let's see, what else on here? Talked about traveling and behavior down there. We talked about free time while we travel. Any questions? For some of our parents that are here, that have been in the program before, we know there's a few of you. If we missed something, please let us know. If you think there's something valuable that other parents should know, please speak up. But questions in particular?
For conflicts, should we email everything for like the entire season, or do you want us to like send emails month by month for conflicts? Like how should that work?
That's a great question. The question was, if an athlete has conflicts and they're aware of a whole bunch of them, should you just send the coach the whole schedule? Yep. And you should also probably remind them as it gets closer. I always tell my athletes will come to me and they'll say, hey, I'm going to miss a month from now. And I'll be like, great, let me know in a couple weeks. Okay, so make sure that, hey, yep, get them that information, then just remind them and say, hey, remember I'm going to be out of town. They're like, yep, I remember. They have a great question.
Yeah, good question. Hold on to that until you know your team coach.
Yep.
For tournaments that are within that 5-hour driving range, what's the required time to be there? Are they expected to miss school ever if it's...
That's a good question. So the tournaments that we travel to kind of in the area, most are 2-day events, so they're going to be Saturday, Sunday. Saturday competition at tournaments, there's usually 2 waves. One wave will start at 8 a.m. and the next wave will start at about 2 p.m. Okay, if you're in the 2 p.m. wave, you could theoretically leave on Saturday morning, although not recommended. I prefer as a coach, I prefer as a dad, to be there the night before, sleep normal, get up the next day, have breakfast, hang out, go watch some of our other teams play, and then play at 2 o'clock. If you play in the 8 a.m. wave, you will need to be there the night before so that you can get up and go play. So for those 2-day tournaments, usually not. I mean, you'll leave after school on those days. There are a couple of 3-day events. There's one in Wisconsin Dells that starts on Friday. Same thing there. You could be in the afternoon wave, which means you could go a couple hours in the morning and get there. But most of the time, they are going to leave on Thursday night for that one.
And just to set expectations, most tournaments don't come out with their schedule until the Tuesday before we compete. So you're really making some game time decisions, literally. So the Tuesday before competition is customary for the schedule to come out.
And what we've done with our hotel contact is we've worked with her to make sure that she's selecting hotels that have a gracious cancellation policy. So you can cancel up to a day before. So let's say you don't need that Friday night, and you're just going to drive down Saturday morning. She's working to get hotels that allow for that. So you could book both initially and cancel one if you don't need it. Okay, please, please, please make sure that you read the hotel's policies when they come through. Okay, but she's working to make sure that that's possible in all of them.
Alright, so what happens if an athlete works out like every morning at their school? And what about ETS? Do you want us to not go that morning? Or
That's a great question, because we not only have athletes that work out every single morning, but we also have athletes that play other sports. So you need to communicate with us about that. Okay? Yes, in your case, if you're just working out before school, great, don't go that day, go to ETS. For an athlete that's a multi-sport athlete, we're going to talk about that to make sure you don't get burnt out. We need to make sure that you are taking care of your body, fueling it well, getting enough rest. And if you're playing another sport, ETS is going to be maybe once a week. Maybe, depending on how tired you are.
Make sure to talk to Farron about that as well, so she knows that that's an opportunity for you, but do not do ETS twice a day. Because you're basically, every time you go into ETS, you're ripping your muscles. We're injuring ourselves, and then you need time to repair. So if you're doing that in the morning, and then you do it again at night, you're going to be setting yourself up for an injury. So not twice a day.
Great question. Other questions? Yeah.
Severe weather, winter
Ah,
weather.
great question. I totally forgot. We don't have a snow policy nor a cold policy. We have a road conditions policy. Okay? Because the metro is so big and we have families driving from the Turtle Lake area down to Rochester, the road conditions are going to vary where you are. Some of us live further out in the country, so our policy is this. We're going to have practice unless the road conditions are so bad that we think it, like, no way, completely everybody's going to wind up in the ditch, we're not doing it. We'll probably have practice. Okay, but that being said, you as a parent, think it's not a good idea, don't do it. Just let your coach know you're not going to be there that night. It's not a big deal. Okay, but we are going to make sure that we continue to provide opportunities to train, because it could be terrible on the west side of the metro or from St. Paul west, and over into Wisconsin it's totally fine. I mean, a couple of years back it was the other way. In May, they had 23 inches of snow in River Falls. That coach didn't come to practice that day, but everybody else was here because it wasn't snowing over here. Okay, so it's pretty big. We're gonna have practice. As far as cold, we're gonna practice. Athletes are required to wear pants and coats when they leave the gym. If I see them attempting to leave without those items, I search the lost and found. And I make them wear lost and found stuff and wash it and bring it back. Okay, so make sure they're dressing appropriately. If we do make a cancellation of practice, we're taking lots of things into account, including who's driving. So we're more likely to cancel a 17 and 18-year-old practice than we are a 14 and 15-year-old practice. Okay, so there are times where we'll say, hey, you know what? Road conditions look like they're getting worse throughout the evening. 12s, you guys have practice. 17s and 18s, you don't. Okay, so know that we'll do our best. We're going to make a reasonable decision. Practice will probably be on. And if you decide it's not a good idea, just let your coach know you're not going to be there that day.
We work hard to make that decision by 3. Doesn't always happen that way given weather, but we will send an email and your coach will also contact you.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate announcing the additional coaches?
Great question.
More than what on the website?
Yep, great question. So the question was, when are we going to announce the official coaches of all the teams? Once we get all the athletes situated and placed on a team, we can then do that. Because if there's an athlete that has earned being on, let's say, the 17-1s, and one of the 17-1s coaches a high school team that athlete happens to be on, we have to move that coach, which could affect a whole bunch of other coaches. So we're going to place the athletes first, and then follow up immediately with the coach assignments, if that makes sense.
And just know, now that we have this schedule built, the goal for this week is to get coaches' bios up, starting to build the team pages. So the website will be evolving this week as well. So we have a bunch of coaches. They're just not on the website yet as well. So just know that we have our coaches fairly lined up.
Other questions? Yeah?
So you mentioned an assistant coach. Does each team have an assistant coach?
Oh yeah. Yep, all teams have 2 coaches, head coach, assistant coach. We also work really hard to make sure that there are always 2 coaches present. We understand coaches have conflicts sometimes, and we'll make sure that there's a capable sub there to fill in for them. So the athletes always have 2 coaches working with them. That's at practice and at competition. So yep, always 2 coaches. Yep.
The monthly payments, is that due the first of each month?
Statements go out on the 1st, payments are due on the 15th.
Okay, so you're mailed a statement.
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll get an email every single month on the 1st of what your balance is, basically. It'll show your initial invoice as well as any payments. If you paid with the check number will be there. That'll all be sent to you on your monthly statement. Keep in mind that there are some teams that have technically a payment due after their season is done. We do ask that you make the payment before your season's done. that really, well, the 18s, nope, they started early, so they should be okay. Yeah. So, but if your season is closed, make sure you just get it paid before they get on the flight to Nashville. Other questions? If you do have questions, if anything comes up, please, please, please email us. Okay, we are more than happy to answer it as quickly as we can. Now that the scheduling is working out, we will be able to be more timely in our responses to emails. I have a couple in my inbox right now that are a day or two old, that I'll get back to you right away. Now that the schedule's done. Yep.
How many teams did we put together for the whole organization?
23 total teams. 23. Max capacity of our gym is 24. So.
And if you haven't done so already, looked at the email that has the Google Calendar in it, if you haven't dumped it, I wouldn't yet until you know your team. Otherwise, you're going to have just a whole mass amount of teams in your phone system, Google Calendar, whatever you're using. Just a recommendation. You have the information. Really, that spreadsheet, that PDF we sent is your template. Just know you don't have to type it all in. A Google Calendar will dump it into your system. Just kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. And give us a day or two as we sort that out, because it sounds like when you click to import it, it's causing problems right now. So give it a day or two, we'll get it all sorted out.
If you don't have any practices, like where it says like a no practice for the week, are we still scheduling the two ETS trainings during that week, or is that
Yeah, they are opening up ETS
on those days?
through Thanksgiving, yes. And they just put in December and January in the system as well. I would caution you though, let your daughter get some under her belt so she can report back and say, Mom, doing ETS after practice is killing me. Or I absolutely cannot do it before practice because then I can't perform in the gym. So just know that you might not want to schedule all the way up through January until she's done it a couple times to decipher, how she feels. When does she want to do it? That would be my recommendation. Just know that it is open though.
The example of that is our daughter who went this past summer. Her first session after she was done, her stomach was a little queasy. So she kind of had to work that out and figure out how to fuel her body before so that she wasn't so queasy after, because she wouldn't want to be queasy and then go into a practice. Okay, so give them a little time to work that out. Other questions? Great questions. I will end with how we started. We are here to walk beside you. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be extraordinarily happy moments, and there are going to be tough moments, sad moments. And it's our choice to walk beside you during those times. And the first one that's going to be coming up is going to be team placement. There are going to be athletes that are really happy, and there are going to be some that are disappointed. And we're going to walk right beside them while they're disappointed so they learn how to work through that, not to protect them from it. Okay? We are here to help. If you need anything, please, please, please let us know.